Hey guys, Karen here, and I wanted to go over today's episode, and it is episode 2 of the hunt season. So, draw results have been out for a while now. I know a lot of people have already started going out on their hunts. I'm a little bit behind on everything after camps and everything, but all my hunts are much later. So, of course, we have our local hunts, my main area. Archery's already been done and over for a while now. Rifle is in full bloom, I guess you'd want to say, and that doesn't end until almost the end of September. But we still have like B Zone, which I also go to, and then we have our actual out-of-state hunts. So this year I actually have 3 out-of-state hunts that I'm going on and helping with. So we are going to Arizona for our hunting buddies Kaibab hunt for mule deer. Then my dad has Nevada elk, which is super exciting. And then of course, last but not least, my hunt in Colorado for mule deer. So I've been waiting for this hunt for a very, very long time. I've burned all of my points for it. And it's finally here, finally happening, 4th season mule deer. So what I'm going to be talking to you guys about in this episode is the after draw results. What happens once I find out? So the first thing that I do is I break up some stuff into sections. So in my mind, there are 4 sections. There is transportation, season/weather, mapping and planning, and your gear. So I'm just going to touch on each of these sections really quickly and we'll get into it. All right, so first up is the transportation, and this is 2 little different pieces with it. So the first one is, how am I going to get to this hunt? Am I going to have to fly? Am I going to be driving? How am I getting there? So for looking at my own hunts this year, the Arizona, the Nevada, and the Colorado, we're leaving and we're going to hit all 3 before we ever come home. So it's going to be like a month and a half, very big, very crazy. So what am I going to be driving is the next question. Since I know that I'm going to be driving a lot, I need to make sure a vehicle will run correctly. So I know my Blazer will not be able to handle this whole entire trip. So that's out of the idea. My husband's truck is on non-op, so that's out. All it leaves is my truck or my car. Well, the car, that's not going to happen. So it leaves my truck. So now the next thing that I need to think about is what needs to be done so I can take this on that hunt. And so some of the things I need to think about are, okay, I knew I needed new rims. I already got that done. I know I need to make sure my tires are good. Those are good. I know I need to have an oil change. I know I need to get a tie rod fixed. I need a new radio because, a lot of driving. I kind of want to listen to some tunes. And I also wanted to build a rack for the back of my truck. So this is a lot of thinking ahead while I still have time so I can prep and it's not going to be super, super crazy. Trying to do everything all at once. So I already know what vehicle, I know what I need to have fixed on it, and what new items I need to bring to the table for it. Now, the other thing that you need to think about, the second part of this, is what am I going to be doing when I get to that unit? How am I going to get around that unit/zone? So am I going to be driving? And if I am going to be driving, what am I driving? Am I driving the truck? Am I driving the side-by-side, the quad, the dirt bike, a bicycle? Or am I going to be walking everywhere? Or do I need a boat? What kind of things go into the whole plan in general? Which I know we haven't gotten to the planning, but it kind of helps you think about what other things you need to do. So for instance, I know I need to think about those units. I need to figure out what land is going to be related. So by that I mean, is it going to be BLM land? Is it going to be forestry? Is it going to be wilderness? That'll help determine what you need to bring with you. Also, another thing is the trails. So if I do know that I'm going to be driving around everywhere and I need to figure out what I can bring, I need to think about Okay, the trails. Are most of these trails, when I go into the mapping, going to be dirt biking trails, side-by-side trails, quad trails, or off-roading trails? Like, what are we looking at here for this unit? Because that'll help determine what else you need to bring. So for instance, most of these hunts, I probably don't need something. We'll just be using our pickups and then walking. But I also want to bring stuff just in case. Because remember, I don't get to go home at all. So what we've already started planning is I will be having my truck. I will be having my dirt bike in the back of my truck. And I will be trailering the side-by-side. Kevin will be trailering his own trailer with his own gear in it. My dad will be trailering his trailer with his gear in it. But I have the transportation stuff. So Dad and Kevin will be in the side-by-side with all of the gear during the hunt. And I will be on my dirt bike off to the side driving. So that way I have a way to get around. I'm not being unsafe inside or outside of the side-by-side. And I'm still going about. If I also need to go somewhere by myself, I can. I have something. Now, granted, I'm not planning on riding my dirt bike with my firearm, just so you guys understand, because I'm not ready for that yet. And my bike is not built for that yet. So that's an entirely different plan for an entirely different video way down the road. But that's the first bit of transportation that you need to think about. Alrighty guys, so next up is the season/weather. So this one, you should already have a rough idea because you know when your hunt is actually going to be. So you should have a rough idea of what you might be getting for weather. The reason why I say this is because when it comes to long hunts like what I'm gonna be doing, I'm in 3 different states. They're very different from each other. So I'm going to maybe hit multiple different kinds of weather. I don't know. I also want to go and research what weather usually happens during that time I'm going to be there. If most of the time is already like usually raining, I want to make a note of that. If it's a lot of the time, it's actually just sunny but hot, or it's full blown snowing, I want to know. So I have a rough idea of what I want to pack. This will also help determine where I need to be focusing on when the hunt actually happens. So for instance, one of the hunts I'm not able to go on that we have as a family is my brother's antelope hunt. When you guys see this video, my dad and my brother will have already left for the Wyoming antelope hunt. Normally, they don't get rain this time of year. But because we've been keeping an eye on the weather patterns for over there, we've realized the entire plan that was in place now has to be scratched because it's raining. So the main roads my dad was planning on going on to get out and about and then hike from there are all washed out. A whole bunch of weathers happened. So now they're going to a plan B. I recommend always having a plan B. Knowing your season dates will also help figure out where the animals are going to be, which that'll help with your mapping. And last thing about the season/weather is going to be the altitude, which is going to play a huge part in multiple different ways with your mapping and planning. So you need to think about the altitude that you're going into and if it's going to be a problem. Alrighty, next up is the mapping and planning. So this is something that you are going to keep on doing throughout this whole process until you actually get there, and then you're going to be mapping and planning more. So you don't want to just go in and just not even focus on anything. We have so many tools at our fingertips now to help you figure out your hunt before you even get there. So granted, when I was growing up, my dad would just get the big old maps out. Like I have a whole entire box of maps and everything. Yes, you want to make sure you have a plan, but it could be different from the map. Now, some of you guys that are my campers and everything, you guys have seen, if you were in our advanced or advanced 2, you guys have seen my whole class on mapping and the difference between, okay, this is what the map shows. This is what a 3D map shows. Here's what it looks like in real life though. Don't always trust it 100%, but it helps you get further along. It helps build an idea of a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C. So always look at your maps. So some other things to consider when you're looking at your maps and you're starting to plan out everything is the altitude. Just like in the season and weather, altitude plays a huge role. With altitude is, what about the animals? So whatever hunt you're going on, animals usually stick within a certain altitude. If you are hunting for antelope, they're more in the plains. If you're hunting for mountain goat or bighorn sheep, they prefer cliff sides, especially mountain goats. They want the tippy top of those mountains. So figuring out the altitude that your harvest animal is going to be in is very, very important, because that'll help give you a band of where you need to be searching when you're mapping and making all your plans. Another thing is, what season are they in? Is the animal you're trying to harvest trying to focus on mating? Are they trying to focus on water, food, habitat, sanctuary areas? What are they focused on will help you determine how to go about your hunt. If they're more focused on water, then you should definitely focus your hunt around water locations. If they're definitely in the mating aspect, try and figure out where all the cows are. If you're doing bull elk and everything, figure out where they're at so you know that they're gonna come in. It'll also help you figure out, okay, I need to figure out calls. So for instance, again, with the elk hunt that we're going on this year, it's already past mating season. So we know that we don't have to focus on calls because they're not really going to be bugling. So that's something to keep in mind. When it comes to planning, some other things is going to be calling around places. And I don't mean, okay, I leave in a week, I'm going to call the biologist, some taxidermists, some guides. I'm going to see what the 411 is in this area. Don't even bother doing that if you're going to wait until the last minute. They will not answer your calls. They don't want to be bombarded by some out of area person that doesn't want to do the diligence before the hunt. Now, my dad, for instance, the second he found out about that elk hunt, he was calling right away to the biologist. Hey, can you keep me updated? What do you see here? But it's not just, hi, I'm so-and-so. I'm going to be hunting this unit. What can you tell me? Like, show that you're doing some work. Show them that, hey, I have already done some research. I have seen that they like to hang around this area by the other hunters that I've read on forums. Like, is that true? Are they still like that? I heard about this disease hitting there. Is that still a problem? Show that you have done your research so that way they are more willing of, okay, this person has done their research. They are showing that they are wanting to do their due diligence for this hunt, and they're not calling me right before. I'm going to give them information. Granted, not everybody's going to, but you're showing your passion and your determination to succeed on this hunt by doing all these steps first. So those are it for like the mapping and planning that I'm going to get into this time. There's still so much more to go into, but stay tuned for one of my next videos because I will be going over how I go about the mapping portion and plan what we're going to do. Alrighty, and our last section here is the gear. So much to do with gear. Gear is the current mindset I'm in to get ready for these hunts. We have already done a lot of the planning, which I will have filmed for you guys soon enough, and so keep an eye out on that. But my main focus right now is figuring out what gear I need. So I already have a lot of gear. My dad has a lot of gear. Kevin has a lot of gear. Like, we have a lot of gear as a whole. But I'm also doing hunts that I'm not used to. I'm also going out for longer than I'm used to. So I need to make sure I have absolutely everything I need. Don't just wait until like a week before the hunt to do this. Start looking into it now. But really going through each setup and focusing to make sure you have everything you need. So when it comes to gear, there's also different things to look at within the gear. There's your sleep setup. So that'll include your tent, your sleeping pad, your sleeping bag, anything that you're going to be using for sleep. You need to think about the clothing setup. What clothes do I need to bring for traveling in and out of the car, going places, to sleep in, to stay warm, to actually hunt out there, staying at camp? What clothes do I need to bring? That'll help me out on this hunt, either keep me alive or to make it more comfortable. Another thing is your optic setup. So your binoculars, your rangefinder, your spotting scope, all that stuff you need to make sure you have in working condition, because what if maybe you dropped your spotting scope maybe 4 months back and you forgot all about it, and next thing you know, you leave in a week for a hunt, you don't have optics now. Think about it as soon as possible. Start going through everything so that way if you do have to turn something in to get it fixed, you have that time. Or if you have to order online, you have that time to get something new. There's also your tools. Now, I know a lot of people use the word weapons. I don't like using that word. So what tool am I using on this hunt? So I want to make sure I have my bow if I'm doing bow hunting, my rifle if I'm rifle hunting, shotgun if this is birds, whatever it is, make sure it's all good and ready to go. Then there's your safety kit. Not just a little first aid that I put in my backpack, but what is going to keep me safe throughout this whole entire endeavor. From heat to cold weather, whatever it is, what is going to help you survive. Another setup is your kitchen. What food plans do you have? Not just here's what I need to bring to cook with, but what is my plans for food? So am I going to be doing a lot of freeze-dried food? Am I going to be bringing in my own food? Or am I going to be kind of buying as I go out there and going to the grocery store and constantly buying things to make things work? You need to figure out what that's going to be for you, along with your water. So with water, okay, am I going to be buying gallons of water from the store and coming back and forth to camp to get water? Or am I going to have to use a stream or a lake or snow to get my water? So does that mean I need a purification source? How am I going to go about that? And 2 more setups would be your harvest kit. So make sure your knives are good. Your game bags. What else do you need? Your tags is huge. And your backpack setup. Now, here's my thing. I have my tags for the current season that I'm in my hunting bag at all times. So my bino harness that sits on my chest, that front pocket is where I usually keep my tag. That's where my license is and my tag for that unit. Now, when I switch from A zone to B zone, I'm going to need to take the A zone out if I don't get anything and put the B zone in. Where do I keep the B zone on the off season? Well, there's a spot on my wall. So here's my door right here, right on the other side above the light switch. There's nothing there. It's absolutely nothing. But I have pinned right there all my tags. So that way it's obvious, easy to see right there in my face. I cannot lose it. I have my Colorado tag sitting there for my mule deer hunt. So that way I'm not like, oh my God, where did I put them? I can't remember. Oh my God, I've lost my tags. Oh my God. Freaking out session. They're right there, easy to see, plain as day. So I like the idea of always having it on you, but if I have so many tags and all these other ones aren't in the season right now, or it's not even the same state, why have them in your same pouch? So just what I do personally. Then there's your backpack setup. So what needs to go in your backpack? Do I need to get a new backpack? How am I going to have everything in there? Am I backpacking into somewhere? Am I doing a base camp? Starting all that plan and making sure you have everything you need for that. Now, I know this was a lot to go through, and thank you guys for staying with me if you did. But I just want to say thank you guys, and please stay tuned for episode 3. I believe I'm going to be doing the mapping portion next. It's either that or gear. So let me know in the comments which one you would rather see first. So yeah, I'm super excited for this year's hunts, and thank you guys for watching. Please do not forget to like and subscribe. Go follow me on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. I'm there for it all. So thank you guys and have a great day. Bye.